The woman reached for a cereal box on the supermarket shelf when she felt a small tug on her coat sleeve. She turned quickly, her fingers still wrapped around the box, and found herself looking down into a pair of wide brown eyes. A little girl stood there, rainwater dripping from the hem of her thin jacket as she hugged a worn plush bunny to her chest. You look like my mommy," the girl whispered, the words so soft they barely reached the woman's ears. The woman froze, the box slipping slightly in her hand as those words sank deep into her chest. The girl lifted her wrist, revealing a tiny bracelet with the letters AM engraved into the metal, catching the aisle's bright light. Before we go deeper into this story, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, your city or your country. And if emotional, real lifestyle stories touch your heart, remember to like this video and subscribe for more. Your support really helps these stories reach more people who might need a little hope today. The woman slowly crouched down so she was level with the girl's eyes, not wanting to scare her away. Up close, she saw that the girl's lashes were heavy with raindrops and unshed tears, as if the weather had followed her inside. "Hey, sweetheart," the woman said gently. "Where's your mommy right now? Is she in the store somewhere?" The girl's fingers tightened around the bunny's ear until the fabric wrinkled under the pressure of her small hand. She's not here," the girl murmured, her gaze dropping to the polished floor tiles. Her voice shook like it was carrying a secret that was far too heavy for someone so little. The woman glanced over the girl's head toward the automatic glass doors at the front of the supermarket. A line of tiny wet footprints led from the entrance straight into this aisle, like a map of panicked steps. Her stomach clenched as she understood that the child had walked in alone from the rain. "Did you come inside all by yourself?" the woman asked, careful not to let the question sound like scolding. The girl nodded once, her shoulders curling, as if she expected to be told she had done something wrong. "I ran away," she whispered, the words barely more than breath, like they were afraid to exist. The woman's heart jolted, and she reached out to rest a gentle hand on the girl's shoulder. "Hey, it's okay," she murmured, softening her voice even more. "You're not in trouble for telling me the truth." She offered a small smile, hoping it would steady some of the shaking she felt under her fingers. "Can you tell me why you ran away?" the woman asked, keeping her tone as warm as she could. The girl swallowed hard, her lips quivering before any sound came out. "Because the man said Mommy isn't coming back," she finally whispered, and a tear slid down her cheek. The woman felt those words punch through her chest like a cold wind. She brushed the tear gently away with the side of her thumb, feeling how cold the girl's skin was. "What man, sweetheart?" she asked quietly. "Who said that to you?" "Uncle Mark," the girl said, shrinking a little just from saying his name out loud. "He got really mad when I cried for Mommy again, and he yelled so loud inside the car." Her small shoulders trembled as though the echo of his shouting was still bouncing around inside her. The woman's fingers curled slightly against the child's jacket, anger flickering underneath her concern. "Is Uncle Mark your mommy's brother?" she asked gently, trying not to overload the girl with questions. "I don't know," the girl said, shaking her head. "He just says I have to live with him now. Did he bring you here to shop?" the woman asked, glancing once more toward the front doors. The girl's eyes darted in that direction, filled with nervous worry. "He stopped the car outside," she said softly. "He was shouting on the phone about moving and money." The girl sniffled and squeezed the bunny closer, her voice lowering even more. "He kept saying, 'Mommy left me, and I should be grateful he takes care of me,'" she murmured. "I'm scared when he's mad, and he's mad a lot of the time now." The woman felt a knot forming in her throat as she pulled the girl closer. "So when he was yelling on the phone, you opened the car door and ran inside here?" she asked. The girl nodded, eyes shimmering again as she clutched the bunny's head under her chin. "I saw the bright lights and the people, and I ran in fast," she said. "I thought maybe Mommy could see me if I went where there are lots of people." She looked at the woman like she was checking if that idea still sounded silly or hopeful. The woman smoothed a hand over the child's hair, feeling just how cold and damp it still was. "You were very brave to come here," she said, letting warmth fill her voice. "You did something smart. Going where there are people when you feel scared is a very good idea." The girl leaned into her small body beginning to relax just a little under the woman's arm. For a few quiet seconds, the supermarket noises faded into a soft background blur around them. Then the woman's eyes drifted back to the bracelet circling the girl's wrist. "That bracelet is very special," the woman said gently, brushing her thumb over its engraved surface. "Who gave it to you?" she asked. The girl's expression softened as she held it up so they could both see the tiny letters. "Mommy did," Anna whispered, her voice trembling with gentle affection. "She said AM is for both of us, like we're holding hands even when we're not together." The woman's breath caught, her chest tightening as if someone had reached inside and squeezed her heart. "What's your full name, sweetheart?" the woman asked, though her voice had started to shake. The girl straightened a little, as if remembering a tiny script her mother had taught her to recite. "Anna Marie," she said softly. "Mommy's name is Anna too." The woman blinked a few times, her pulse roaring in her ears like distant thunder. "Anna," she repeated, tasting the sound like an old memory she hadn't dared to touch. "And what's your mommy's last name? Do you know?" Anna nodded and turned the bracelet slightly, eyes tracing the letters again. "Mommy told me her name is Anna Miller," she whispered. "She said we're both AM girls." The woman's knees nearly buckled beneath her as a flood of memories rose to the surface. She reached for the shelf behind her with one hand, steadying herself. "How old are you, Anna?" she asked, her words coming out softer now. Anna held up her small hand with all 5 fingers stretched out. "I'm 5, she said, a tiny flash of pride shining through her fear. "Mommy said when I turn 5, good things will start again." The woman's throat closed, tears burning behind her eyes. 5 years. 5 years since hospital machines, masks, and voices saying she might not make it. 5 years since she had let someone else carry away a baby while she fought just to keep breathing. "Did your mommy ever tell you a special story?" the woman asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Something she made up just for you?" Anna nodded, her fingers gently stroking the bunny's ear. "She told me the rainbow story," Anna said, her eyes softening. "She said when everything feels gray and scary, the rainbow finds us again. She said it always finds us, even if we can't see it yet." The woman's tears finally spilled over, sliding down her cheeks in silent streams. She had invented that exact story one sleepless night in the hospital, just her and her newborn. She had whispered it over and over as if she could sow hope into her daughter's tiny heartbeat. "Did she say anything else?" the woman asked, covering her mouth for a moment between breaths. Anna looked down at her bracelet again and nodded. "She said she would find me when she could breathe again," she murmured. The woman remembered the doctors, the oxygen mask, the words damaged lungs and dangerous strain. She remembered promising her baby girl that if she survived, she would come back for her. But by the time she was strong enough, both the baby and the relative were gone. Before she could say anything more, the sound of the automatic doors opening cut through the air. Anna stiffened immediately, her small hand latching onto the woman's sleeve. "He found me," she breathed, fear turning her voice into a thin thread. A tall man in a dark jacket strode into the supermarket, rain dripping from his sleeves. His eyes swept the store with a mixture of frustration and urgency, jaw clenched tight. "Anna," he called sharply. "Anna, get over here right now." Anna whimpered and tried to hide behind the woman, pressing herself into the back of her coat. The woman instinctively shifted, positioning herself fully between the girl and the approaching man. Her heart pounded, but a steady protectiveness began to rise inside her. The man spotted them and strode quickly down the aisle, irritation etched deep into his face. "There you are," he snapped, glaring at Anna instead of checking if she was all right. "You think running off is funny? Let's go." When he reached out to grab Anna's arm, The girl yelped softly and clung tighter to the woman. The woman stepped back, blocking his hand without even thinking about it. "Please slow down," she said, trying to keep her voice controlled. "She's terrified." "This is none of your business," he hissed, keeping his voice just low enough not to attract everyone's attention. "She's my niece, and I'm responsible for her, not you. Now move." Anna's voice cracked as she cried out, "Don't let him take me, please." She buried her face against the woman, shaking from head to toe. "He says Mommy left me because I'm bad." The woman felt anger burn through the ache in her chest. "Is that true?" she asked, turning her gaze sharply on him. "Did you really tell her that?" "She is too attached," he snapped, looking around nervously as a few shoppers slowed their carts. "Her mother dumped her on me years ago, and now I have to deal with the mess." His words landed like stones, heavy and cold. "Kids don't run into stores and beg strangers for help when they feel safe," the woman replied. Her voice shook, but she didn't step aside. "She's terrified of you." A worker from the store, wearing a name tag and holding a pricing gun, approached slowly. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, eyes moving from the shaking girl to the angry man. The tension around them had become impossible to ignore. "This stranger is confusing her," the man said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Anna, come here now. I said, let's go." He reached out again, impatience rising in his posture. Anna let out a sob and clung even tighter to the woman's waist. "Please, don't let him," she cried. "Mommy said I'd know her when I saw her. She said she'd look like warm light. Like sunshine. Like you." The woman's whole body went still as those words crashed into her like a wave. She felt every piece of her past, every promise, every regret converge in a single moment. This child believed, with all her heart, that she had finally found her mother. "Sir, we're going to need you to step back and calm down," the employee said, lifting his hands politely. "I'm going to call the manager and security so we can sort this out properly." The man's eyes widened with sudden panic. "Don't you dare!" he snapped, but it was too late. A call had already gone out to the front of the store. Within moments, 2 security officers arrived, their presence shifting the air around them. "Is there a problem?" one officer asked, his tone professional but attentive. The worker gestured toward the girl and the man. "This little one seems really scared," he said. "Maybe someone needs to hear her side before she's dragged anywhere." The officer knelt so he could see Anna's face, still pressed against the woman's coat. "Hi there," he said softly. "Can you tell me, do you feel safe with this man?" Anna shook her head without even lifting her face. "Do you want to go with him right now?" he asked gently. Anna's grip tightened, her answer spilling out in a trembling rush. "No, please. I want to stay with her. She feels like Mommy." The man started to argue loudly, insisting on his rights, his guardianship, his sacrifices. But his explanations sounded thinner with every sentence as he failed to produce proper documents. The officers shared a look, and one finally said, "Sir, you're not taking her anywhere right now." As they guided him away toward the front of the store, he called back over his shoulder. "You're making a mistake," he barked. "She's going to ruin your life, just like her mother did." Anna flinched at his words, but the woman hugged her closer. "It's okay," the woman whispered, her own tears finally falling freely. "He's not going to hurt you now. You're safe. I've got you." Later, in a small office at the back of the supermarket, the woman sat with Anna, curled in her lap. A police officer took notes, his voice calm and respectful. He asked Anna simple questions: her name, her age, her mommy's name. "Anna Marie," she repeated softly. "My mommy is Anna Miller." Then she looked up at the woman with searching eyes. "But," she said she'd come back when she could breathe again. She said the rainbow would help her find me." The officer turned to the woman. "Ma'am, you reacted like you knew exactly what that meant," he said gently. Is there something you want to tell us? The woman took a long, shaky breath and finally stopped running from the truth inside her. 5 years ago, she began, I gave birth to a baby girl in a hospital bed full of wires. She was tiny and perfect, and I couldn't even hold her without gasping for air. She wiped her cheeks and continued, her voice trembling. The doctor said my lungs were too weak, that I might not survive if I didn't rest. A relative offered to take my baby for a while, so I could recover. When I was finally strong enough to look for her, she whispered, they were gone. No calls. No address that worked. No trace. I've been searching ever since, but every lead just dissolved. The officer nodded slowly, understanding settling into his features. And your name? Kay asked quietly. The woman swallowed hard. Amelia, she said. Amelia Miller. Anna's head lifted from her chest as if pulled by invisible strings. Her eyes widened with stunned, fragile hope. Anna breathed, staring at the bracelet as if seeing it for the very first time. Amelia Miller. Her tiny voice trembled on the name. Amelia cupped her face with trembling hands, tears streaming freely now. Yes, sweetheart, she whispered, her voice cracking open. It's me. I'm your mommy. Anna's bunny dropped to the floor as she threw her arms around Amelia's neck. I knew you'd come, she sobbed. I told him you would. I told myself every night. You smell like I remember. You feel like I remember. Amelia held her daughter as if afraid she might disappear if she loosened her grip. I'm so sorry it took so long, she whispered into her hair. But I'm here now. I am never letting you go again. Anna's voice came out small but sure. The rainbow found us, she said, pressing her face into Amelia's shoulder. Just like you promised. And in that quiet office behind a supermarket, with rain tapping softly against the windows, a promise made 5 years earlier was finally kept. A mother and daughter, separated by pain and time, found each other again. This time, nothing would pull them apart.